Have you ever wondered why your adult children seem to pull away, leaving your calls unanswered and family visits rare? It's a hard take many parents face, but what if the problem lies in the words you're unknowingly using? In this video, we're uncovering the 5 toxic phrases elderly parents must avoid to prevent silently destroying their relationships with their adult children. These aren't obvious insults. They're common expressions that slip out, carrying hidden damage that can push your kids away for good. You need to watch until the end because we're not just exposing these relationship-killing phrases. We're sharing real stories, like Harriet's, a 72-year-old widow who transformed her strained family ties by changing her words. You'll discover expert-backed insights from family therapists and psychologists, revealing why these phrases trigger emotional distance and how to replace them with healthier alternatives. Phrase number 2 is so harmful it could lead to permanent estrangement. Don't miss it. By the end, you'll have a clear roadmap to rebuild precious family bonds, avoid guilt-driven communication, and foster mutual respect. Whether you're feeling disconnected or just want to strengthen your relationship, this video offers practical steps to ensure your children want to stay close, not out of obligation, but because they cherish your connection. Stick with us. You'll be amazed at what a few simple changes can do. If you are not subscribed, subscribe and activate the notification bell so you don't miss any videos. Your support means a lot to me, and if you enjoyed this video, you can help me continue spreading the valuable lessons by liking and sharing it. If you like the topic of this video, please comment 1. If you don't, please comment 0 to let me know how I can improve and make better videos for you. Now, let's begin. Toxic phrase 1. After everything I've done for you. Have you ever found yourself feeling completely unappreciated by your adult children, the weight of years of sacrifice and care pressing down on you, and then, in a moment of frustration, this phrase slips out? I get it. The temptation to voice your hurt is overwhelming, especially when it feels like you're constantly giving, and yet, there's no acknowledgement. But let me tell you, relationship psychologists, the ones who truly understand the dynamics of family connections, warn us that this expression is one of the most destructive forms of emotional manipulation a parent can use. And honestly, as much as it may feel like you're justified in saying it, the long-term impact on your relationship could be devastating. Dr. Rebecca Martinez, a respected family therapist at Northwestern University, explains that this phrase immediately shifts the relationship into a transactional one. Instead of fostering genuine connection, it puts an invisible scoreboard between you and your children. When you say, "After everything I've done for you," you're turning your love, care, and sacrifices into some kind of credit that they owe you. In Dr. Martinez's words, this transforms natural parental care into a debt that children can never repay, creating resentment rather than gratitude. Think about that for a moment. Resentment, not gratitude. It's heartbreaking to consider that, through this simple phrase, we might be unknowingly building walls in the very relationships we've spent years trying to nurture. Take Gregory, for example. Gregory is a 76-year-old retired accountant from Phoenix. A man who gave his all, who worked tirelessly for decades, and yet, when he found that his son was no longer answering his calls, he was confused, hurt, and angry. Why? Because he had done everything for his son, right? He paid for his education, worked hard to give him opportunities, and yet, his son barely had time to call. One evening, during a rare dinner together, Gregory couldn't hold back any longer. He blurted out, "After everything I've done for you, the least you could do is call me once a week." It was as though a dam had broken, and the flood of hurt poured out. But in that moment, something unexpected happened. His son exploded. "I've been pushing you away for years because of this," he finally confessed. The guilt trips, the constant reminders of all I've done for you, had been tearing him apart. Gregory was devastated. The very thing he thought was keeping them close, his need to remind his son of his sacrifices, was pushing him away. It was a punch to the gut, and it hurt more than any rejection could. What he thought was his way of staying connected was, in reality, creating emotional distance that seemed impossible to close. But here's the silver lining. Gregory didn't give up. With the help of a family counselor, he began to unearth the real feelings and needs behind his words. Instead of wielding guilt like a weapon, he learned to speak directly from his heart. He discovered that by expressing his true emotions, his loneliness, his desire for connection, he could rebuild the bridge that had been broken. Rather than saying, "After everything I've done for you," Gregory began saying, "I miss hearing your voice. I'd love if we could catch up more regularly. Would a Sunday call work for your schedule?" This approach was not about guilt, not about making his son feel like he owed him anything. It was simply about being vulnerable and honest. It invited the son into a conversation based on respect and love, not obligation. Because at the end of the day, parenting was a choice. A choice born out of love, not an investment expecting a return. Your children don't owe you anything for the love and care you've provided them. And neither should they feel indebted to you for all you've done. Once you let go of that toxic phrase, you begin to create a healthier, more authentic relationship. One that is built on mutual respect, love, and understanding, rather than guilt and obligation. Trust me, the freedom that comes with shedding this phrase is worth the emotional shift. And if you're serious about transforming your relationship, try this. Speak your truth, express your needs clearly, and watch the walls crumble. Toxic phrase 2. Your spouse is turning you against me. This statement is so incredibly dangerous. It can sever the bond between you and your child for good. It's a phrase that doesn't just cause harm in the moment, but can leave lasting scars that may never fully heal. Family relationship experts, with years of experience, all agree on one point. This kind of accusation is toxic, plain, and simple. When you accuse your child's spouse of manipulating them against you, what you're doing isn't just attacking their partner. You're attacking their very ability to think for themselves. You're questioning their judgment, their autonomy, and worst of all, their love and loyalty. You're creating a battleground where they feel forced to pick sides, and that is a deeply painful place to be. Dr. James Wilson, the director of the Family Systems Institute, describes this situation as a no-win for the child. He explains that when parents force this impossible choice, it creates overwhelming emotional stress, leading to tension that ultimately tears the relationship apart. It's a form of manipulation that can feel suffocating, one that can erode the trust and closeness that should define family bonds. Over time, this tension builds, and what was once a close connection between parent and child can be reduced to a distant, painful memory. I can't help but feel a sense of sorrow when I think about Barbara's situation. At one point, she openly blamed her daughter-in-law at a family gathering, accusing her of stealing her son. That evening, her son sent a heart-wrenching text message saying they needed a break, and that break turned into an agonizing 18 months. During that time, Barbara missed out on precious moments. Holidays, birthdays, and the birth of her first grandchild. A rift was created so deep, it seemed impossible to bridge. The pain was unbearable for both sides. But after professional counseling and heartfelt apologies, Barbara was finally able to mend her relationship with her son and daughter-in-law, though it was clear that the damage had been done. If you are still watching this video and find these lessons useful, please comment 1 below to let me know that you are still here with me. Barbara's journey teaches us something incredibly valuable. She realized that to repair the damage, she had to let go of the blame and shift her focus. Now, instead of pointing fingers, she makes a conscious effort to support her son's marriage and show respect for their relationship. She learned that showing love for both her son and his wife was the key to maintaining the bond. Instead of repeating those toxic words, she now says, "I value both of you so much. I'm still learning the best ways to be supportive of your family. Could we find more opportunities to connect that work well for everyone?" This simple shift in approach shows humility, respect, and an understanding that her child's marriage deserves to be a priority, not a battlefield. It's a reminder that family dynamics are fragile, and every word we say has the power to either build bridges or destroy them. If we can embrace compassion, open-mindedness, and mutual respect, we have the chance to keep those connections strong, no matter what challenges arise. Toxic phrase 3. In my day, we did things differently. This seemingly harmless phrase carries a heavy weight that can unintentionally create barriers between generations. When you use it, you're not just commenting on how things used to be. You're subtly suggesting that today's world, and all the choices it entails, is somehow less valid or even inferior to what came before. It's a well-intentioned way of offering advice, but it often comes across as a critique, and in the world of family dynamics, critiques from loved ones, especially parents or grandparents, can feel deeply personal. Dr. Sophia Chen, a professor specializing in intergenerational studies at Boston University, puts it plainly: when elderly parents frequently refer to their day, they are unintentionally pushing away their children. It positions them as critics, rather than the allies they want to be. I can't help but think about how this impacts not just the relationship but the emotional toll it takes on both parties. The power of words is often underestimated, but phrases like this create an invisible wall that can distance even the closest families. Take Timothy, for example. He's a 74-year-old grandfather from Nashville who, like many, thought his experience as a parent and grandparent made him an authority on all things related to raising children. But when he spoke to his daughter about childcare, starting his sentences with, "In my day, we didn't have all these complicated safety rules," or, "In my day, children respected their parents," he unintentionally hurt her. His daughter, in trying to do the best for her children in the modern world, began to feel like his advice was an attack on her choices, her parenting style, and even her love for her kids. She was defensive, frustrated, and felt misunderstood. Timothy wasn't trying to cause harm. He was simply offering what he thought was valuable wisdom. But the way he framed it made his daughter feel less than, like she wasn't measuring up to a standard from the past. Eventually, Timothy took a step back. He realized the words he was using weren't helping. It was creating more distance rather than bringing them closer. So, he began to ask questions. "I'd love to know more about how you handle things now," he would say. "What made you choose that approach?" He showed genuine curiosity about her methods, asking instead of assuming. And that made all the difference. The defensiveness melted away, and Timothy's daughter began to open up. Not only was the tension lifted, but she even started seeking his advice on occasion, willing to incorporate some of his old-school wisdom into her modern parenting methods. This simple shift in language made the world of difference. Instead of approaching the situation to correct, Timothy switched to an attitude of connection. Now, he might say something like, "I'm interested in understanding how you approach this. Would you like to hear what worked for me when you were growing up?" It no longer feels like a comparison between past and present. Instead, it becomes a sharing of experiences, a bridge across the generational divide. Ultimately, this is what all of us need to remember. When it comes to communicating with our adult children, the goal should always be connection, not correction. There's a vast difference between offering guidance and imposing judgment. If we show respect for their choices, even when they're different from our own, they're far more likely to value our perspective and reach out for our advice in the future. When we respect them, they will respect us back, and the generational gap won't feel like a chasm but rather a space to grow together. Toxic phrase 4. You never visit, call me. At first glance, this statement may seem like an innocent expression of longing, but the truth is far more complicated. While it may feel justified in moments of isolation and emotional exhaustion, relationship counselors warn that such absolute phrases are often relationship wreckers, and for good reason. Using sweeping words like never or always distorts the truth and puts your children immediately on the defensive. It's like setting a trap, one that neither side can escape unscathed. Dr. Michael Ramirez, a seasoned family psychologist and author of Healing Family Relationships, wisely points out, absolute statements like, "you never visit," create a no-win situation for adult children. Even if they visited last month, the parent has declared this insufficient. This creates resentment and anxiety around future interactions. Can you imagine the emotional weight of that? It's a continual cycle of disappointment, where your child might feel like they can't do anything right, no matter how hard they try. Take Evelyn, for example, a 70-year-old widow from Chicago, whose heart ached from loneliness. She'd often tell her daughter, "You never call me, and I haven't heard from you in ages," even though they had just spoken the previous week. Over time, her daughter started to dread their conversations, bracing herself for an accusation she couldn't win. No matter how much she called or texted, nothing ever seemed to measure up to her mother's expectations. How exhausting it must have been for both of them. Then, something remarkable happened. Evelyn's friend, with a touch of wisdom, encouraged her to start journaling about all her family interactions. What Evelyn discovered next truly opened her eyes. She found that her daughter was reaching out 2 to 3 times a week, through calls, texts, and social media. The problem wasn't a lack of contact, it was her perception of what was enough. This realization was like a light bulb going off. She had been so focused on what wasn't happening that she hadn't acknowledged the moments of connection already in her life. With the help of a therapist, Evelyn began shifting her mindset. Instead of focusing on what wasn't happening, she started focusing on the positive aspects of her interactions. She began expressing gratitude for specific moments. "I enjoyed our call last Tuesday," or "Thank you for sending those lovely photos of the kids." It wasn't about pretending everything was perfect, but acknowledging the love and effort behind each small action. Instead of making accusations, Evelyn shifted her approach to something more grounded in understanding. "I treasure our time together," she'd say. "I've been feeling a bit lonely lately, and I'd love to find a regular time to connect that works with your schedule. What might that look like?" By framing her emotions in a way that didn't place blame or exaggerate the truth, Evelyn was able to open up a healthier line of communication with her daughter. And here's the thing, her daughter, who had been carrying the weight of perceived failure, was finally able to see that her efforts were enough. It wasn't about quantity, it was about quality and connection. Understanding that your adult children are juggling careers, raising their own families, and handling life's endless responsibilities can help you reframe your relationship. They are not neglecting you intentionally. They are simply navigating their own complex lives. By acknowledging their efforts and expressing your needs without making accusations, you create a much more nurturing and balanced dynamic. This small shift can make a world of difference in how both you and your children experience your relationship. Toxic phrase 5. You'll regret it when I'm gone. Using your mortality as emotional leverage may seem like an effective way to grab attention, but the truth is that it does more harm than good, especially in family relationships. Many parents unknowingly resort to this tactic, thinking it will make their children spend more time with them or appreciate them more. But, in reality, experts warn that it only pushes children away. This phrase isn't just a simple remark. It's a manipulative tool that stirs up feelings of guilt and fear. It's an emotional weapon that damages the trust you share with your children and creates an atmosphere of anxiety. Dr. Elizabeth Parker, a gerontologist and family counselor at the University of Michigan, explains the psychological toll of these statements. When elderly parents invoke their mortality as a threat, they're not deepening connection. They're creating a traumatic association with their eventual passing. Instead of fostering closeness, these words often drive adult children to distance themselves, attempting to avoid emotional manipulation. It's heartbreaking to think that in the pursuit of more time and connection, a parent might be driving a wedge between themselves and their children, further isolating themselves from the very people they want to be close to. Take Robert, a 78-year-old grandfather from Denver, as an example. Whenever his children couldn't attend a family gathering or disagreed with his advice, he would say, "Well, someday I'll be gone and you'll wish you had listened to me," or "You'll regret not spending more time with me when I'm dead." His intentions, however, were masked by fear and anxiety about being forgotten. Sadly, these words led to his children limiting their interactions with him, finding the emotional blackmail too much to bear. It's painful to think that instead of creating cherished memories with his children, Robert inadvertently pushed them away with his veiled threats. The good news is that Robert, with the help of a therapist, came to realize that his fear of being forgotten was real but was expressed in a way that hurt the very people he cared about. Instead of cloaking his legitimate concerns in guilt and manipulation, he learned to communicate his desire for connection directly. It wasn't about threatening with death. It was about saying, "These family moments mean so much to me. I hope we can create more memories together in the coming months." This shift in communication expressed a genuine need for closeness and connection without inflicting guilt on others. The impact of these phrases is far more dangerous than we might initially think. While they may seem innocuous or even well-meaning, they have a powerful negative effect on relationships. What makes them especially toxic is their familiarity. So many elderly parents say these things without realizing the harm they're causing. They believe they're just sharing their concerns or simply talking about their feelings. But the reality is that their words are like silent bombs, going off in the hearts of their children. Neuroscience research from Harvard Medical School sheds light on why these toxic phrases are so harmful. Dr. Jonathan Hayes explains, when people hear accusatory or manipulative statements from loved ones, their brains trigger the same stress response as if they were facing a physical threat. Over time, this emotional distress trains people to limit contact with the source of the stress. It's not that adult children consciously decide to abandon their parents. Rather, it's a natural psychological response to emotional manipulation. The body and mind recoil from what feels like an emotional assault. If you are still watching this video and find these lessons useful, please comment 2 below to let me know that you are still here with me. But here's the silver lining. Recognizing these harmful patterns is the first step toward healing. Once you become aware of the damage these phrases cause, you can begin to replace them with healthier alternatives. It's not an overnight process, but with effort, these toxic habits can be transformed into something that strengthens your relationships. Changing how you communicate might be tough, especially if these phrases have been ingrained in your speech for years. But it's never too late to change the narrative of your family dynamics. Family therapists recommend a 3-step approach for breaking free from these damaging patterns. First, practice self-awareness. The next time you feel the urge to use one of these phrases, pause and ask yourself what emotion is driving it. Are you feeling lonely, underappreciated, afraid of being forgotten? Understanding the root cause of your feelings can help you communicate your needs more directly and honestly. Second, pause before speaking. This moment of reflection can give you the space to choose healthier, more constructive alternatives. At first, it may feel awkward or uncomfortable, especially if you're used to communicating through guilt. But, over time, these new habits will become second nature. Third, focus on expressing your emotions and needs in a way that doesn't place blame or cause guilt. Instead of saying, "You never visit me," try, "I've been feeling a bit lonely lately, and it would mean a lot to me to spend more time together." It's a simple shift that communicates the same underlying need for connection, but it does so without making the other person feel like they're responsible for your emotional well-being. Patricia, a 75-year-old grandmother from Boston, had a similar experience. After months of strained interactions with her 3 adult children, she realized that her communication style was inadvertently pushing them away. She committed to changing how she spoke, avoiding toxic phrases, and instead being open and honest about her feelings. Her children were initially skeptical, but as Patricia consistently demonstrated this new approach, they began to warm up to her. 6 months later, Patricia's daughter surprised her with an invitation to take a weekend trip together, something that would have been unthinkable before. "It wasn't that my children didn't love me," Patricia reflected. "They just couldn't handle the emotional burden of my old communication style." Building stronger, more authentic relationships is possible. By eliminating toxic phrases and adopting healthier communication habits, you can create a family dynamic based on mutual respect and genuine connection, not guilt or fear. Start by regularly expressing appreciation for the small ways your children show up for you, rather than focusing on what's missing. Respect their boundaries, understanding that they have responsibilities beyond your relationship with them. Be curious about their lives without demanding their constant attention. Make your interactions enjoyable, and be the parent they want to talk to, not the one they feel obligated to check on. Ultimately, the goal is to build relationships that are sustainable and fulfilling, where love and connection thrive without the emotional manipulation of guilt or regret. By focusing on positive communication, you can create a family environment where everyone feels seen, valued, and appreciated, without the fear of future regret. As we wrap up today's discussion, think about the phrases you've heard, or perhaps even used, in your relationships. What have you learned about the impact of guilt, manipulation, and fear? These subtle yet powerful words can change the dynamics of our family connections in ways we might not even realize. Now, I want to hear from you. What is one thing you've learned today that you're going to practice in your own life moving forward? Whether it's replacing toxic phrases with healthier communication, recognizing the emotional needs behind certain words, or simply making an effort to create more positive moments with your loved ones, your insight can help others as well. Please share your thoughts in the comments below. If you liked this video, don't forget to hit that like button, share it with someone who might benefit from this advice, and of course, subscribe to our channel for more tips and stories on improving family relationships and living a fulfilled life. Your support means the world to us. Thank you for watching.